I want to thank everyone for coming today in support of House Bill 731. And I particularly want to thank my women legislative friends, Carla Drenna, and Representative Darshan, and Representative Nancy, and ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming. With my 50 House female co-sponsors, I bring today to the voters of Georgia consideration of House Bill 731. The purpose of this bill is to ban assault weapons, sale, distribution, possession, and use of large capacity magazines and armor-piercing bullets. I'm very aware this is a controversial subject, but it is my purpose and my intent to have an open and intellectually honest discussion in the state of Georgia about gun violence. Yes. Gun violence that kills 30,000 people a year, 90 a day. In August 2013, Michael Brandon Hill entered McMahon Elementary Discovery School about 4 miles from my house in DeKalb County with an AK-47. One of these pictures today demonstrates what an AK-47 looks like. He entered the building, announced that he wanted Channel 2 to be called, and the police were called instead. When the police arrived, he exited the elementary school building and sprayed the police officers who returned fire. He re-entered the building, and based on the miracle of Antoinette Tuck, receptionist, through her human intelligence, through her compassion, as she said, a vessel from God, she prayed with him, and in about 45 minutes, talked him into surrender. No children were hurt in DeKalb County with the use of his assault weapon. He borrowed that assault weapon from a friend. I don't know whether the friend knew he was holding the assault weapon or not. The children of Sandy Hook Elementary School in Connecticut were not so fortunate. Adam Lanza entered that elementary school with a Bushmark X-15, and within a few minutes murdered 21 first graders and 6 adults. He owned an arsenal of weapons, including a semi-automatic assault weapon that was a gift from family members who were aware of his mental health issues. We in Georgia were lucky, but many, many other citizens across this nation simply have not been lucky and will not be lucky given the power and the possession of so many assault weapons in our society. Bestseller author Malcolm Gladwell has written an analysis of the history of school shooters. They all mimic, and he's very detailed in this, there's a lot of his scientific writing is, they mimic Eric Harris, his outfit, his weapon, his posting, his social media, even the photographs that he takes. Mr. Gladwell concludes that there's a tipping point where others will be following what they think of perversely as a hero, Eric Harris, and there will be other shootings. We just do not know who, and we do not when. Less emotional, but probably more relevant to us and our society at large, is the use of high-powered, semi-automatic, assault weapon-type guns in organized crime and in drug trafficking. These are seizures. These are guns that are seized in Georgia by law enforcement. There are various photographs around are a result of law enforcement activities. Law enforcement is at risk based on assault weapons. There are 7 states that have banned assault weapons, and I am very aware in the history of this particular legislation in relation to this particular kind of gun that the definition is incredibly critical. 731 is a long list of specific weapons that are addressed in this bill. The definition section has changed as different states, different federal laws have been enacted since 1994 on assault weapons. But the broader history of gun rights and gun control in this country is really fascinating. There's a book written by a historian called Gunfight, which goes through the history of legislation in relation to gun rights. The South, now probably the greatest protector of gun rights, was the most aggressive on gun control after the Civil War. That was not because of accident or serendipity. It was because the Ku Klux Klan in the South began as a gun control organization for the purpose of disarming freed slaves. In the early 1930s, President Roosevelt took interest in what was then called the Tommy gun. The Tommy gun was a machine gun-like weapon that was used by organized crime. And in 1934, the National Firearms Act was passed, which banned that form of machine gun, Tommy gun. What's interesting to me in this history of gun legislation is that the NRA in the 1930s supported that legislation. And the gentleman who was at that time president of the NRA, Carl Frederick, said to be the best shot in America at that time, was very interested in supporting a restriction on gun ownership, and said, "I do not believe in the general promiscuous touting of guns. I think it should be sharply restricted and only under license." And the Second Amendment was never raised in the 30s as federal government entered the world of gun control. We are in a very difficult political climate right now in relation to guns, but I believe it's time for an honest, intellectually honest discussion about what people of Georgia may want. I am certain that nationally, based on the recent Pew polling data, 57% of Americans wish to ban assault weapons. 80% of Americans wish to have greater gun control. We're going to spend, I don't know how many hours, talking about religious freedom. I was on the subcommittee for the RFRA bill last year. Probably 20 hours we spoke about the constitutional right of freedom. I don't favor one constitutional right over another, but I will say that 30,000 people a year don't die based on denial of religion. As a Christian, I think gun violence is an issue that Georgians want to discuss in a fair and a rational way, and this is an excellent place for us to have that discussion. And I offer for your consideration, the voters of Georgia, an opportunity to discuss whether 731 is a viable way for us to reduce gun violence. We are supported in this bill with many organizations, and I'll list that for you. But first, I'd like to hear from three gentlemen of faith. First will be Bishop Rob White, the Episcopal Diocese of Georgia.